game one. See if we get C's. No. So I'm versing Dave, and he's playing the new Grey Knights. So I've deployed my Tyranids, and he's left everything on reserve. A whole bunch of very interesting Grey Knights. So after turn 1, if he rolls a 1 or a 2, I actually win, which is going to be funny.
I've got to roll it for all of my units.
Ah, yes. No worries.
It's not one.
If he rolls a 1 or 2 for all of his units, then I win. Alrighty, so Rabicon. I don't know how many cracks I've had at trying to do really well at Rabicon, but I've taken my Tyranid list a little bit amped up from the Gauntlet list. Instead of using Hive Crones, I've gone the 4 Hive Tyrants, and I really like 4 Hive Tyrants. So my opponent Dave, he is playing the new Grey Knights, and they're really cool. I actually really like his army and what he's trying to do. One of the things I was interested about is like combat squatting. All the Grey Knight models actually give you like a ton more warp charges. Something I didn't think of, but that's something that's pretty interesting in my opinion. He decided to reserve all his all his squads, because he's running the Grey Knight formation, which can deep strike on turn 1. So my turn 1, I got first turn. I flew off the board. And he drops in, causes a bit of damage. I come in, and my aim is to kill all his Marines using psychic powers and shooting. I nearly do it. So you can see my Tyranid here. He's preparing. He's hoping to wipe out that entire squad, and my Hive Tyrant's hoping to kill out the other squads. I actually managed to kill everything except for one model. My Tyranid, I'm just going to call him Knight anyway. His melter cannon scattered way back onto him, causes a hull point on himself, and then fails. You can see a 3-inch charge there. Oh, it might have been a 4-inch charge, but I rolled a 2. So Knight's not doing particularly well this game. He drops in the rest of his army. This was an interesting mission. You can see it's one where there's like 10 objectives, and you can only use the troops to capture objectives and stuff like that. So my game plan was score as much as I can before my Rippers, and so I actually deployed all my army before my Rippers and stuff die, because they're going to die very quickly, and just hopefully keep him off objectives and things like that. And that's pretty much what happened. I picked the wrong target for a charge with my Knight. I should have gone after his what's it called? The Red Knight? The Grey Knight thingamajig. But I went for the Terminators, keeping them, because they're a troop choice, and keeping them kind of occupied, because he's got both his HQs in there. I could get lucky, and then when he does eventually kill me, my thing explodes in them. It didn't happen. My Morlock completely missed, and this is actually, I mean, even though I love Morlocks, this entire tournament, my Morlocks did not roll a single hit. My single Morlock didn't roll a single hit. He never mishapped a 1, which is good. But I was a little disappointed. Another thing that's really cool about the new Knights, so the Grey Knights, is there's actually 2 things. So one is their Aegis rule. The way it was ruled, and the more I look into it, I think it's right. It allows you to reroll the 1s when denying stuff like blessings and things like that. I think that's actually really, really cool. And because they have a reasonably cheap Librarian, and you can get him to level 3 reasonably cheaply, I reckon as an ally, you throw him into a giant squad, and he's now almost impossible to cast against. Like, you can't Maledictions and Witchfires against a squad with a level 3 Grey Knight Librarian becomes almost impossible to get the spell off, because they're denying on, say, your Warp Charge 2, even Warp Charge 3, but say Warp Charge 2, they're getting +1 for Psycho, +1 for being a higher level, plus rerolling 1s. And they've already got a ton of warp charges, because, again, combat squatting gives them a whole bunch of warp charges. So, yeah, just some really interesting things to think about. My Morlock, he's in combat with that Knight, doesn't get the hit and run. So I just said, all right, well, you're dead. And my game plan really is turn around, fly back with my Hive Tyrants to clear my backfield, because I don't want him getting any secondaries. And my other 2 Hive Tyrants are going to his backfield to get his secondaries and keep anything off objectives. I made a slight mistake, and this was just because we were running a little bit out of time. We got the full game in, but we were running a little bit out of time. In that I was, calculating the points, and to get a major in RapidCon, you actually need 10 points above your opponent. And by the end of it, we actually worked out I was 9. And one of the things that I made a conscious decision of, and I was wrong, was I didn't go into, because I landed my Hive Tyrant on the secondary, and if I had landed 2 more inches towards his deployment zone, I would get Line Breaker. So what I should have done was forget the secondary, because I already had it with my other models, and go for Line Breaker, get the major on the primary, and still draw on the secondaries, or in essence. Anyway, it was a good game. I got the win, but Dave did a really, really good job. He wouldn't fail saves for the life of him, and from what he thought was a really bad matchup, he did really well to get, I think it was only 11-9, something like that. It was pretty good.